الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. All praise belongs to God. We praise Him. We seek His help. We seek His forgiveness from our bad actions, and we only rely on God. And we turn to God from our bad actions, and from ourselves, and from our sins. Our sinful actions. Whoever God guides, nobody can misguide him, and whoever God misguides, nobody can give him guidance. We bear witness that there is no God but God, and that Muhammad is His messenger, and that God is without partner. And I begin in the name of God, the Most High, the Most Gracious. Inshallah. Brothers and sisters, Facebook friends and family, I want to give everybody some insight on what the Holy Quran actually is. I know that people have heard about it, but most people don't know the truth of what that book is. I've heard too many times erroneous things about what the Holy Quran is, and essentially, and for the most part, people have said that it's just like the Bible. And what I mean when I say that is that people have found it is the inauthenticity of the Bible has become a known thing. It's all over the internet. You can find it in all types of accredited academic books. It's just it's a good piece of work. It's good literary. It's helpful. It beats a blank, but it has not filled the spiritual void that the world needs. So I've heard a lot of people put the Holy Quran, judge the Holy Quran in the same light. So I kind of want to clear that up, clear the untruth of that up, and give people a glimpse of, and I say glimpse because I'm not a scholar, I'm still a student of knowledge myself, and always will remain a student of knowledge, but outside of any complete traditional formal training, I'm going to do my best to give my Facebook friends and family some insight on what exactly the Holy Quran is from my best expertise. Excuse me. The first thing I want to do is kind of give y'all a little background of how I was introduced to the Holy Quran and Islam. As everybody who knows me, or anybody who has followed me on Facebook, I was born a Christian. Well, I was born Muslim, but I was raised a Christian for the first 21 years of my life, and I was in the streets. I had a troubled childhood all the way up until when I was grown, and that converted over into being to being in the streets, kind of the same old story that we're used to. Sadly and unfortunately, I end up being sentenced to 9 years in prison for aggravated robbery and kidnapping, and some and a collection of other charges I had caught prior until then. I used to, I was a gang member. I used to be a blood. I tell a lot of the guys, a lot of my friends and family from where I'm from and who know me, anybody associated with me, that I was part of the introduction of the whole blood movement. And once I came home after 10 years later, my whole entire neighborhood, other neighborhoods that I frequented and used to do dirt in, and virtually the whole city of Cincinnati was Bloods. I was kind of part of that first generation of introducing that. So I reiterate, I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from inside the mentality inside of the life, not from outside of the life, like we see mostly a lot of media people who have went to school and learned and read a few books about this type of life. They don't really truly understand it, but I was not even neck deep in it. I was submerged in it. So and I understand from experience and still experience. I still live in the hood. I still live on the west side of town. I still think it's beautiful. I still think it's love. It's my family. It's my friends. So I still keep connected with all of my friends, all my family. We just do the dean now. So I'm not speaking from an outside perspective. I just want to emphasize that, because I know that there is a prejudgment out there, and a lot of guys who don't know me, they think that I was born and raised Muslim because they know Kabir Muhammad now, and they don't really know West Side Red, or Romel Williams. They don't know that guy. They just know that mashallah, I'm become a striving slave of God. So how I encountered the Holy Quran was when I was in prison, and like a lot of people, they pick up the Bible because you get in so much trouble, you in over your head. All of our grandmothers taught us to believe in God, mostly Christianity from my demographic. So I picked up the Bible, I read it, and I found a lot of inconsistencies myself before I was introduced to any certified books that exposed that. And I reached out for a lot of help to try to understand that from family and close friends, and didn't really get the clear, logical answers that are required, which there aren't any. If something is mistaken, then it's mistaken. And a lot of people have trouble coming to terms with that. So, long story short, I actually became an atheist once I concluded that the Bible has so many errors in it, and to me, that's a logical thing, that it has been kind of misconstrued by man. So I was cool on that, because I had enough problem with people, and in that life, coming from the streets, we're not really taught to follow anything or anybody. So I put that down. I became an atheist for a very, very short period of time. I said there wasn't any God, and if there is a God, that God is me. And my only focal point is money, because it seemed like that was the thing that was going to make everything better, which I was wrong, because I was 21. But there was a Muslim brother inside of my pod in the county, and I was waiting in the county to catch my time. Didn't know how much time I was going to get. They were kind of stuck on 15 years. They just a sidebar. They ended up giving me 14 of the 15 years, and I did 9 of it. And am still doing parole time. Now I have 4 years on parole. So they put the rest on it. They put 5 years on the shelf. Mashallah. But, excuse me. While I'm waiting to get my time, there was a good brother in the block named Peter Johnson. I hope I can run into this brother again, and may Allah bless him and reward him for introducing Islam into my life. He was a good brother. He was from the east side of town. He was from Avondale. Everybody know that's a hard neighborhood in Cincinnati, real hard neighborhood. And it was amazing to me that a black man from that part of town, or just from any ghetto anywhere, could make a change. Because I actually wanted change. I just didn't know how to change. I didn't have the resources to change. I didn't have an environment to change. I used to sit down with the brother. And he used to be around a lot of other strong-minded older guys, and I used to listen to them talk, and they used to debate about religion. One was a Christian, another one was a non-practicing Muslim, Sunni Muslim, and another guy was what they call a 5%er, the people who say that the black man is God, which is delusion. But so he used to sit at the table. I used to listen to these guys rap all the time, and they used to, they used to go into some deep subjects and some deep topics. They used to speak some real life stuff. And when they used to speak some real life stuff, I'm young. I'm sitting here listening. I'm still confused about life and everything. So The older brother, Peter Johnson, he was always the most eloquent in his speech, and he used to always make the best point. He was a great listener. All the way around the board, his character was impeccable, something I had not seen up until that point, and it intrigued me as a young individual. So I called him out in the day room at the table one morning, and I sat down with him and I said, "Man, what do y'all believe?" He said, "Look, bro, I can't make you a Muslim." He said, "I can't make you a believer. I can't discourage you from doing anything that you're doing." He said, "I can talk to you and I can give you some insight." So we talked a little bit. He told me about what Islam was, and he kept saying, "Yeah, the Quran says." And I was like, "Man, what is that? What's the Quran?" And then he was like, "You ain't never heard of the Quran?" I remember the look he gave me, and I felt so guilty from that look that he gave me. I was like, I ain't never heard of that, man. And he went and got his, allowed me to borrow his. He gave me a few pamphlets. Now, mind you, this brother he wasn't getting locked up. He was being released. He was in the process of being released. He had done 6 years in prison for aggravated robbery and some other stuff. So, he was in the life, and he made a change. So, excuse me. So, so he gave me some reading material. Some of the reading material was the scientific miracles of the Quran, the proof of the prophethood of Muhammad, and is the Bible God's word? And I read these. I read and another one, a good one, was is Jesus God? Please Google all those topics. You'll come up with some surprising things. And so I read this stuff, and it was mind blowing. I knew it was right within my heart, but I had been taught something completely different the entire time. I was raised as a Southern Baptist Christian, so. I believe Jesus was God. I believe Jesus was the Son of God. I believe that Jesus was our Lord and Savior. Nor I didn't practice anything that the Bible said, like most people, but that's what that was the set of beliefs that were issued to me. I didn't really get a conscious choice in that matter, like most people. So, I was a little thrown back because this was saying the opposite of everything that I have ever heard before. So fast forwarding, I did a very deep study. I read the Quran. I remember when I got to a certain chapter in the Quran, and it said that Jesus is not God. Jesus is a man, and he was a man. He was a prophet of God, and he's a man like you. And I got to that point. I was like, man, this is sacrilegious, man. This is blasphemy, and I put it down for about 2 weeks, and I couldn't. The book was so good, the Quran. It was so good, I couldn't leave it alone. It sat there on my little table in my cell, and it was bothering me in my head. And a lot of stuff that I had read, I was like, man, this, it was good stuff. It was really, really, really intriguing. Now, mind you, I am not, I was not, nor am I a scholastic individual. Anybody who know me, I've always been known for trouble. I never did good in school. I never got A's and B's. So I'm not the typical student, or I'm not the average guy from school. I'm a real live screw up. I'm talking about, I think I put a few pillars in the book of screwing up. So mind you, this is the individual that's reading this book. Now, I can read, my comprehension level was extremely low. It was very near illiteracy. So, but that pushed me when it said certain words like refuge. It uses that word all the time. I can remember vividly running into the word repose. And I was like, man, what is this? Another time, the Quran, this is the English translation, it used the word canopy. And I'm like, man, I ain't never heard, black folks from the hood, they don't really generally use those types of words. So the first time I was introduced to these things were inside of the Holy Quran. So fast forwarding, I kept reading, and then the more that I read the Quran, the more I seen, matter of fact, I rephrased, the more I could recollect the truth of the Quran, the content that the Quran offered. It just kind of put my life in perspective, and it put life in perspective in general for me. So, I became unbiasedly attached to it. I was using this book to help me get through that hard time, help me sort out some confusion in my life, and help me help gain some guidance I was not a Muslim. I was nothing close to a Muslim. I was still a blood. I was still in the county, trying to make my name and position myself inside, what all these other dudes, some of these other hoods and all these other sets. I was still doing that. But when I locked down, it's boring. I didn't have a TV. Your brain starts wandering, and you don't have You don't have distractions of girls and clubbing and partying and drinking and having fun and sleeping all day. Or well, you can sleep all day, but I've never been a sleeper. And you don't have no homeboys or homegirls that'll distract you from that'll occupy your mind. So long story short. What do you say, Sister Anissa? She said, my favorite saying from Jamaica. I slept under Allah's canopy. Alhamdulillah. I didn't know they speak like that in Jamaica, but alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, by the way, sister. Fast forwarding, I finally made my mind up and was like, you know what? I don't know what Islam is. I don't know what I don't know who Muslims are. Only thing I knew about Muslims were Osama bin Laden. That was the only thing I knew about a Muslim. I didn't, I had no clue whatsoever. But I said, I want to live my life like this. And I remember vividly, I told myself, I said, this is the way that life is supposed to be. An example of the reason why I felt that way, I came across the verse in the Quran that said, if you have if you have taken a life, it is as if you have taken all of the life of humanity, or if you have saved life. You're saving. It is as if you have saved all of the lives of humanity. That's a universal concept. And me coming from a background of war, a war-torn society, I'm like, man, that's, this is what life needs. That was one thing that stood out to me. The Jesus being God and being the Son of God, that was always a confusing thing for me to understand. And I used to always ask questions, and I used to be condemned. I used to get condemned for asking those questions to the preacher. I can remember at one point in time in church, in jail, before I knew anything about Islam, I just had like a little notepad and I had some questions. Now I read one part where it said that Jesus was the Son of Man. And I was asking the preacher, I said, well, how is he the Son of God and the Son of a man? I don't get that. And then he said, you just have to believe. That's what I heard every single time. You just have to believe. I was like, man, I ain't doing that. I know game. I ain't game shy at all. I know game when I see it. So I took some space from that. So when the Holy Quran put it in perspective that Jesus is not God and that Jesus is a man and he was just a prophet, just like Moses, just like Abraham, and also like Muhammad, that made more sense. And I was like, I agree with that. And the third thing that stuck out was the family orientation that the Quran overemphasizes. That was, coming from a single parent home, knowing mostly people who come from single parent homes, and knowing all of the trouble, the strife that comes with that. Because my father, he taught me a lot about black empowerment and how to be a man, and to be there for your children. He taught me a lot about that. So I kind of had some insight on family structure, but it was nothing equivalent to how the Quran lays it out. That's another story for another day. But the Quran provides divine guidance for the structure of a family, and it disclosed to me that the structure of your immediate family will also reflect into society, and society will be structured, in the same way. And it always spoke, the Prophet Muhammad spoke about things that want for your brother, what you want for yourself. I love those types of things because where I come from, everybody's grimy. Everybody's doing whatever they want to do. Everybody's pushing and furthering their own agenda, and if you can't play a part inside of that individual's making that individual rich or famous or making them feel good about themselves, stroking their egos, then they don't want anything to do with you. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed that, mashallah. Those things, that was what was attractive to me. So I didn't, I wasn't connected to the spiritual aspects of Islam as of yet, but stage by stage, I got there, mashallah, and I am still, trying to further myself in it. So that's how I was introduced to the Holy Quran. So I'm going to change course, change topics. I want to explain to y'all what the Quran is, how the Quran is different from any other book in the world, especially the Bible, and how it and I want to explain that. So the first thing that we must know about the Holy Quran is that it was given to us via the Holy Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace and blessings be upon him. Now, who is Muhammad? Most people have heard the name. Most people know a person named Muhammad. And at best, people have seen all the different basketball players who had Muslim names. And a lot of them had Muhammad as a Muslim name. Particularly speaking, a lot of, my Cincinnati guys, we Bengals fans, who they. And there was a Muslim who played for the Bengals who did pretty good. His name was Muhammad Sanu. He's a West African brother. He's a Muslim. May Allah reward him and make him continue to do great in the NFL. But so we heard the name Muhammad before. Everybody have. Matter of fact, I'm going to rephrase. Worst case scenario, you'd have been to your corner store, local corner store, and seen Muhammad in there running a local corner store. So everybody has heard the name Muhammad. Now, where does this name come from? Muhammad is Muhammad. The sister said, "What is his true name?" His birth name was Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Muhammad the son of Abdullah, and his life I can talk about his life forever. So I'm just going to talk about what's relevant. Muhammad was from Arabia, not modern day Saudi Arabia. He was from Mecca, the holy city of Mecca, and he lived and died in Medina. Now, what's important to know about Muhammad is he is in line with the divine prophethood that was promised, the lineage of divine prophethood, that was promised to Abraham. This is also inside the Bible, Genesis. Somebody inbox me if they need the verses. I have them written down. So God promised in the Bible and in the Quran that prophethood was going to stay in the lineage of Abraham. And allow me to sidebar, because a lot of people who might see this video probably doesn't have the proper concept of prophethood. And I'm going to try to be as short and brief as possible. A prophet essentially is a human being of God's likening, who God chose to give his divine guidance to, and the prophet, whoever it was at that particular time and at that particular generation, his duty was to relay the message that God gave to him to the broader society, to the whole of whoever was in that society at that time. Hey, Abdul Salam, Habibi. What that for like? Assalamu alaikum. It was good to see you, Habibi. So there was a long list of prophets. Some of the scholars have concluded that there were 120,000, something like that. 313 messengers. Now, messengers are different than prophets. Prophets just kind of receive revelation. Like the best way I can explain it is that God talks to them, and then that prophet comes and talks to the people, and the people are obliged with obeying what the prophet said. A messenger is a person who is given a book of rules, of regulations to set for a alhamdulillah habibi, are given for everybody to follow. Rules and regulations, basically kind of resetting society on a straight path. And normally God, which he knows better, he sent prophets when mankind, if this was a straight path, mankind went all the way, he sent messengers. Mankind went all the way left. God was like, all right, I need to pull them back to the straight path. So he would send a messenger, because they had rewritten the standard inside of society. We humans have a tendency to just become egotistic and say, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, which is actually the biggest disease of the heart and minds in modern day society with individuals. So Muhammad and also prophets back up messengers. So prophets don't come with a new law and new regulations. they back up the existing law and regulation. The Prophet Muhammad, he was both. He was a messenger and he was a prophet. For the simple fact that every prophet is not a messenger, but every messenger is a prophet, if that makes sense. So Moses was a messenger and a prophet. Abraham was a messenger and a prophet. Jesus, he was a messenger and a prophet. David, he was a messenger and a prophet. And there are hundreds others that we don't really have the knowledge of who they are. It's just the Prophet Muhammad told us that hundreds others of other messengers existed. And then the prophets who backed up these laws were in the hundred thousands. So God definitely made sure that everybody got the message, that everybody was able to have easy access to guidance, divine guidance, so that there could be no excuse when you die that you didn't know or whatever the case may be. That conversation can go in a lot of different directions itself, but, another live stream from another day. All right, so Muhammad, he was from the family branch of Abraham. He came from the branch of his oldest son, Ishmael. He had Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac kind of went, what direction? I guess you can say northwest, and Ishmael was taken far east. And the story says that Abraham had more than one wife, and God commanded Abraham to take his second wife, Hajar, or Rahmatullah alayha, take her to the desert and leave her, which is modern day Arabia. And he was ordered to resettle in Canaan, modern day Canaan or Palestine. So, the Jews and the Christians, they really claim Abraham, but Abraham was not even a Jew or a Christian. He was actually a Muslim. He believed in one God, and he obeyed. He was a slave of God. Just the definition of a Muslim. And he was not a Jew or a European. He was actually an Iraqi. So as much as people like to hate it, this is in the Bible also. Abraham was born in the town of Ur in the Semitic languages, which is in modern day Iraq. I think it was modern day Basra. If you listen to CNN and Fox News, Basra, it's really pronounced Basra. I think that's Basra. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But Abraham was an Arab, and he was a descendant. And Prophet Muhammad was a descendant of him through his first son, Ishmael. Ishmael grew up in the desert of Arabia. He stayed there, lived there with his mother, Hajar. Nobody really knows, but they say some East African travelers came, they settled in the desert of Arabia, and that's how the Arab race kind of came along. And they all kind of traced their lineage back to Ishmael and Abraham. So that's where branch Muhammad had come from. Assalamu alaikum, Bradford. So Muhammad, he lived in the society of Mecca for 40 years. He was a good person. Nobody knew anything bad about him. There's no historical evidence of him ever doing anything bad. Anything bad. So he was a trustworthy individual. So they used to call him Al-Amin. There's a famous story where the first church or first house of worship, the Kaaba, it's like over 5,000 years old. Abraham and Ishmael built it, and the Arabs sustained it for every generation up until this point. It's actually called the Kaaba. I don't know if I said that already, but it's called the Kaaba. So Ishmael, the Arab. This was kind of like the pride of their lineage, because everybody knows who Abraham is, and even like us. Abraham lived over 10,000 years ago, I think, and his reps still ringing bells, real heavy. What does everybody teach? What do they teach in every Sunday school? Father Abraham had many sons had Father Abraham. I don't know the rest of the song, so forgive me, but I remember learning that in church and Sunday school. So, Abraham, everybody claims Abraham. So the Arabs were the same way. They loved Abraham. They they took a lot of pride in their descent from Abraham. So they maintained the holy house, the Kaaba, and they used to do all kinds of stuff here. It was kind of a cultural center. People from all over the world used to meet there annually and trade, and it was a mall of some sort, I guess you can say. So one time there was a dispute between the ruling tribes at that time. I guess you can say the mayors. In our modern day language, there were 4 mayors in 4 different provinces. At that time, they were chiefs, and Muhammad. They wanted to reconstruct the Kaaba, and they wanted to reconstruct the Kaaba. There was a disagreement about it, and they were getting ready to hit about it. And Muhammad walked in. They was like, "Well, let's ask Muhammad, to decide who's going to do it." This is how truthful he was as an individual. This is how pure he was as an individual. So he took a sheet. He laid the sheet out of the 4 tribal chiefs. He told each one of them to grab a corner of the sheet and for them to put the stone inside of the first stone to the reconstruction of the holy house in the middle of it. And all 4 of them walk, to lay the first stone. So all the stuff that y'all see on the internet about Muhammad being a warmonger, he's a serial killer, and all the other stuff. This is what history has to say about this individual. He was that type of guy, and that's very alluring from an individual like myself that comes from a civil war, an ongoing civil war in the black community in America. We're warriors. Black people in America, we're born as warriors. We're born into civil strife, unless you live in the tip top of the suburbs and you have completely immersed into other cultures. But if you are from the inner city or any boroughs and any places where it's predominantly black people and it's abject poverty, like we know, then you're born as a warrior. So these types of stories are very alluring because you come from war and you're like, wow, peace on earth does exist. Peace does exist. So you get that. You started imagining. You start imagining living in peace. So, long story short, I want to try to fast forward so I don't keep anybody on their Sunday afternoon too much. So this is who Muhammad was. He became a prophet at 40. Now, this is when I have to transition. The next section of this talk is about how the Quran was revealed. The Quran was revealed to Muhammad when he was 40 years old. He used to go to this cave called Hira. And inside of this cave, he used to just go there, get away, get a break, get away from society. People were then the way that they are now, drinking, acting the fool, using drugs, womanizing the females, not being responsible with their bodies, killing, robbing. This was all existed in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thank you, Brother Bradford. Thank you. I'm trying my best. We got to reach out to the community, man. So, like we spoke about. So when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was inside of his cave, reflecting, just getting away from society, God sent the archangel Gabriel to him, and the story goes he snatched him up, and he squaws him, and he told Muhammad, "Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq," and he gave him 4 other verses. But I'm not going to recite those. I don't want to. Habibi, Nate. Man, that just made my day right there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Man, so beautiful to see your face, man. Habibi. Man, that's my brother right there, man. He put me through some hard times, man. That's my brother right there. Mashallah, I'm glad to see you, Habibi. Man, I can't wait to talk to you, man. So, inshallah, I'm gonna inbox you my phone number, inshallah. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the angel Gabriel to tell Muhammad these 5 verses. I don't want to confuse people, so I don't want to read too much Arabic. I don't want people to get confused. But the first verse that I just told you, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. This means read in the name of your God, your Lord. Not God, your Lord, the one who creates. Just to say a little bit about that verse, the word Iqra, read or recite, reading and reciting is the same thing, because if you're looking at it, you're reading it. If you're not looking at it, you're reciting it. But if what you're saying is the same thing as if you're looking at it, or if you're not looking at it at all, which is something very unique to the Holy Quran itself. It's the only book on earth that's this way. All books are this way if you memorize it. Like if I pick up a law book of some sort and I can cite it from memory verbatim, then it's as if I'm actually reading the book. But the Holy Quran itself is the only book in the world that kind of has an unbreakable connection with mankind of its memorization. And we'll get to that, inshallah. So long story short, the Prophet Muhammad, he got the first five verses. So this is how the Quran first came. It was in the month of Ramadan, somewhere in the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan, which is the 9th month. And most people who know Ramadan this is the month when Muslims fast for 30 days straight, for a lot of different reasons. So it's the holy month of Ramadan. Now try to imagine what Muhammad was going through. This guy he was not like a religious person. He wasn't like praying and going to church or going to the mosque or the synagogue. He wasn't like that. He was like just a normal dude, a normal person. He was a good person. He always did good. That was his disposition. God kind of had his hands on him. He protected him the entire time he was living, so that he could be prepared. And the people could be prepared for him to bring the good news of the Holy Quran, the revelation of the Holy Quran to him. So, okay, let me move along. When he got the verse, he was kind of scared. When he was kind of scared, sorry, hold on. I have to mess with my phone. Okay, he was kind of scared. He ran out the cave. He went back to his wife, and when he went back to his wife, he said, Zammiluni, help me. Like, he wanted his wife to hold him, and because he was terrified. He had thought he went crazy. He thought not a devil, but some, an alien or something he had an encounter with an alien. His mind is blown. So, he kind of shook up, and the scholars say that it was like 2 weeks that went past before he had ever had that experience again, that he had heard from God again. Obviously, these verses disclose that this was God communicating to him through the angel Gabriel. So 2 weeks later, he got another verse, another few verses, a chapter. It's called Muzammil. And God said, Ya ayyuhal muzammil. That's different, but God said to him, "O person who has wrapped himself up and taken comfort in his wife, get up and warn the people. Get up and go and tell the people." And the verses and the chapters go on with God commanding that Muhammad go and tell the people what's happening to him, basically. So to put this in context. What the Holy Quran is God communicating directly to Muhammad through the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel used to come to Muhammad with the verses that God gave him. Now, I must make this note. The Holy Quran was never written. Like Muhammad was known. As a matter of fact, when the people started to get the message of the Quran, when Muhammad listened to God and he went and told the people what God was telling him, the people was like, "Man, you making that up." Same thing like we do today. People like, "Man, you making that up, man. How we supposed to know that you talking to God? You sound crazy." They were the same way that they are now. So much doubt, but God took care of that. How did God take care of that? He disclosed inside of that book that Muhammad. He said God told Muhammad to tell the people that he was ummi. Ummi inside of the Arabic language means that he could not read, nor could he write. And he was never known to have read and to write. Everybody who knew him knew that he was illiterate. So how could you go 40 years not knowing how to read or write? So much so that he had a ring that was the way he signed his name when he had to sign business contracts or anything. He signed his lease or whatever it was. He had a ring because he couldn't spell. He had somebody make it for him, and they engraved his name so that he can dip his ring in ink and then stamp the paper. This was his sign. This was his signature. This is what the historical documents say. So all of the rhetoric that you hear about Islam and that you hear about the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that you hear about Muslims is garbage. And these are the facts. Muhammad can even read or write. So how could he go 40 years without reading and write and overnight, come with a perfect grammar book? No mistakes, no grammar mistakes inside of the book. Even when I'm speaking, I'm making mistakes while I'm talking. I'm using past tense words when I should be using present tense words. I'm not pronouncing things appropriately according to the standard of English language. So, and I've read a lot of books. I've read more books than Muhammad did. So how could he go 40 years without reading or writing, been known to read or write, and then out of nowhere, he come out and he like, okay, I got this, I want y'all to read this, and I want y'all to learn this. It doesn't happen like that. This is proof that he would had a connection with God. This is proof. So, moving along, Muhammad, the Holy Quran essentially is, let me say what it is not first. Muhammad did not go inside his cave. He did not get a pen. He did not put some paper didn't even exist at that time. He didn't even get whatever it was that they wrote on: bones, stones, papyrus, cowhide, camel hide, goat hide, whatever. He didn't take any of the writing utensils at that time and say, in the name of God and the gospel according to Muhammad. Never happened. We don't have one of those scriptures, one of those books. We don't have that. This does not exist. If it does exist and somebody did find it, they was digging in the earth and then they found it. Oh, we found Muhammad's handwriting. Then Islam is dead. The Quran is dead. Take that whole religion and pitch it out, throw it in the sea with the rest of the religions. So, moving forward, the Holy Quran was revealed over a 23-year period, 13 years inside of the Prophet Muhammad's hometown Mecca, and 10 years in his adopted town Medina. He moved to Medina after 13 years of calling the people to the message of the Quran and Islam because they gave him trouble about it. The people essentially didn't want to change. They was drinking, they was clubbing, they were partying, same stuff you see today. And Muhammad came and said, hey, listen, y'all need to stop, y'all need to chill out. Y'all need to do what God said and not do what man says. And people didn't like that. So much so that when he started to gain a following and society started to change a little bit, people started to do good things. The politicians of that day, were not okay with that. So they tried to assassinate him 1,000,000 times, but God was protecting him and he didn't allow it to happen. And as a matter of fact, the individuals who tried to assassinate him ended up being convinced of becoming Muslim. Another live stream for another day. Long story. Let's move along again. So after the 13 years, when they continuously tried to assassinate the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, God commanded him to move. He moved to Medina, which is some 100 miles or something like that north. I think it's like the distance between Cincinnati and Columbus, maybe Cincinnati and Cleveland, something like that. He went north to Medina. The people of Medina embraced him. He continued to get revelation sporadically. So, he would get a chapter. It could be 3 verses, or it could be 10 verses, and sometimes bits of chapters, like the longest chapter is chapter 2, the cow. It's 284 verses long. So he received that chapter piecemeal, 50 verses at a time, 100 verses at a time, 3 verses at a time, 1 verse at a time. And so much so, after a 23-year period of the gradual revealing of the Quran, different verses, different paragraphs, different chapters, pages, the Prophet Muhammad had the entire collection of the Holy Quran. And mind you, this was all memorized. Now, I'm going to go into the proof of the memorization in a little bit, inshallah. That'll be what I'll close with. Okay. So it's important for me to note at this point that after Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got the revelation immediately, once he learned it, Angel Gabriel used to, in a manner that we don't understand and we will never understand, the reports say that Muhammad used to fall out. He used to fall out, and then Gabriel used to take him, not his body. His body used to be there. Maybe take his soul. Maybe we don't know. It's inexplicable. But he would spend time with Muhammad. He would teach Muhammad the verses. And once Muhammad learned the verses that God wanted him to know, then Muhammad would wake up and he would immediately tell the people. Evidence for this, a lot of times he would foretell something before it happened. And over a time period of this happening, people started to believe him. Was like, man, I think this dude might be the truth, man. I think he might be a little serious about him falling out, waking up, and like, man, I think, God said that this is about to happen, and then it actually happens. This was how so many people became Muslim at that time. So that, Sister Anissa said, made a good comment that people try to some Orientalists, so to speak. It looked like it's a little dark. Hold on, y'all. Let me turn on this light right here. Give me a little light. Okay, do a little better. All right. So they tried to say that he was, having epileptic fits. He was falling out. He had epilepsy, and then, he'll wake up. But I don't know any epileptic that was a prophet and who, basically converted a whole generation of people from his time all the way up until now into his religion of epilepsy. Because I'm not epileptic, so that's a joke. It was a nice try. They had the wrong guy. So moving along. After some time, when people started to confirm that what Muhammad was saying was true, he had some close companions who believed in him firmly. The first one was his wife. So for all the people who say that Islam are womanizers and that Islam doesn't respect women and we oppress women, the very first person who was a Muslim was his wife, Khadija. She was his first believer. She was his support. She was his rock. So on and so forth. And he didn't work. She took care of the whole situation. She helped him out until he got on his feet, and she supported him in his vision 100,000%. And she's, she's amongst the best people and women. So his close family and friends, they lived with him all day, every day. So they would see the change in him. It's important for me to say right at this point, it's normally not a smart thing. It's normally not like within it's not in anybody's regimen to stop partying, to stop womanizing, to all the stuff people like to do, whatever your desires say do. People are living so free nowadays. It's not the normal way of man to just cut all that. Not that Muhammad was doing that, but to advocate to stop doing these things or to change the course of your life. It is not a normal thing to just be like, I'm not, I'm doing this now. I'm going to pray 5 times a day. I'm going to fast for 30 days. I'm not cursing anymore. I'm not going to look at women anymore. I'm not going to look at men anymore for the women. It's not normal for people to just cut stuff off like that. So I said that to say that something was going on. He was seeing something that everybody else wasn't seeing, and the immediate response of him to what he saw, what he witnessed, and what he experienced changed him. There's reports that said that everybody knows about the Muslim call of prayer, the Adhan, Adhan, the Adhan, the Muslim call of prayer. The reports say that when the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, peace and blessings be on him, heard the call, as soon as the brother, and he was an African brother, as soon as he said, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, God is great, God is great. They said that the Prophet used to be rapping with the people, hanging out, kicking it, talking about whatever he talked about. As soon as he heard that, he'll act like he didn't know you. He'll act like he didn't even know you. So what would make an individual act like this? This is what intrigued the people. This what intrigued me. Once I read about these things, it was like,
maybe I might try it out. I was sneaking and geeking with it like a lot of people do. They look, they say, hey, that's nice. I like this, I like that. And they look and they read and they listening. And then the next thing you know, they Muslim. This is how it always happens. Like, man, that's good. And I know it's good. And you want some of that good. I don't know a human being that doesn't want good. So, so the people, his companions, were seeing him react that way. And that made them change. That made them be like, man, whatever it is that changed that man and made that man start being that way, I'm just going to, follow his lead on that. So this is how the prophethood and the revelation was. This was the environment, so to speak. Scholars can explain it better than I can, but I'm a layman, and I think it's important that from a layman perspective, we discuss these things. So, because it's kind of, nobody got time to go to school nowadays. We working, we got family, ain't nobody picking up no books. We done reading books. So, if a person can watch a video for 20, 30, 45, an hour out of their day, and it's something that's interesting to them, they can learn something from it. This is all I'm trying to do. So, closing out, I want to speak about the miraculousness of the Holy Quran, how that is different than any other book in the world, more so the Bible than anything, and how its compilation is evidence for its miraculousness. So, Muhammad died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 10 years passed, 13 years passed, 10 years after that 13, that's 23, 23 years, he died. So he didn't write anything down. He memorized everything that the angel Gabriel told him that God said do. And he taught it to his companions, his friends, his homeboys, his neighborhood, his community. This is why y'all see me doing the outreach that I do. This is the way of the Holy Prophet. This is the way of the Muslims. This is the way of the believers. And if, my contribution, I ain't got a lot of money. I ain't got a lot of influence inside of society. If I can just make a little video and take an hour out of my day or whatever, 30 minutes, 15 minutes to say something towards the right, if this can be my share in that aspect of the divine commandments, then, this is what we got going on. And I encourage everybody else to do the same thing. So, Prophet Muhammad would get the revelation. God would talk to him, and he would tell the people what God told him. Even so much so that when God was commanding the prophet to say something, he didn't even leave out the commandment for him to say it. What does that mean? We have many different verses when God said kul. The word kul in Arabic means say. So this is evidence of the Quran coming from God. And this is a difference with the Bible. In the Bible, it says, and on the day of November 19th, so-and-so said to so-and-so, and this is what happened when it was said. There's a narrator, an unknown narrator. The brother Abdul Salam. Oh, we're going to cross paths real soon, Habibi. I seen your, sorry to cut this off, y'all, but that's my brother right there, man. We got a unique connection. But, I seen your post about bringing you some food the other day, but I was at work, man. So, inbox me. If you need some food or whatever, man, I'll do my best. Wallahi, I'll do my best, man. I mean, I don't know where you at right now, and I ain't really doing nothing. So if you need some food, Habibi, and this another thing, the brother, I don't want to say too much about the brother Abdul Salam situation, but, he's in a situation where, he needs a little help. And we share a similar background. And Islam says, want for your brother what you want for yourself. Islam also says, if you feed a Muslim, then God will feed you. So that's the motivation. In my older days, I jump in my car and drive across town. I drive to another city or state to go see a girl and take her out to dinner. So, and why would I obey the devil and doing some things like that? And I won't, come and help my brother out, and I can just drive literally. I'm from where you at, Abdul Salam. I'm like 10 minutes away. So, inbox me, man, Habibi, if you need something today, man. I got a football game later on, inshallah. So about 5 o'clock, I won't be available. So if you need something, man, holla at me, inshallah. But back on to what we were saying. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu used to get the revelation, and he used to give it to his companions, his friends, the people who were around him. And he used to just say it. He used to tell them, like, this is what God told me to tell y'all. So when they would listen, and when they listened, they would memorize it. Now, all of them didn't memorize the Quran. There were 100,000 plus Muslims when the Prophet Muhammad died over that 23-year time frame. 100,000 plus. All 100,000 plus memorized a significant portion of the Holy Quran. Now, mind you, this book has 6,000 verses, 6,000 plus verses, and over 70,000 plus words. And a good majority of them memorized the entire book forward and backward. Muhammad sallallahu he memorized it forward and backward. The companions actually witnessed him, and don't quote me on this, but I'm just paraphrasing. They actually witnessed him recite the entire Quran forward and backwards, not missing a letter, not missing a dot, not missing a period, not missing a comma, misspelling a word, mispronouncing a word, back to the angel Gabriel twice in his entire lifetime. Now, this is miraculous. This is miraculous. Now, the people that he was talking to, they were robbers, they were murderers, they were misogynists, they were crooked politicians. They were the people that we see today. They had the same problems that we have today. And what changed those people? What changed them? The Holy Quran, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu following his way, and Islam. They witnessed that and was like, that's the truth. Who could not see a person read something from memory? And then you can, even if y'all Google Quran reciters, and you see the guys who memorize the Quran, and you can physically see them jump into the experience, this, you can just, it's inexplicable. You can see the person having an intimate relationship with the words of God. It's nothing. It's like nothing you've ever seen in your life. It's like nothing you ever heard in your life. And inshallah, I'll recite a little bit for y'all, so that I'll recite a little bit for y'all, so y'all can get an example of what I'm talking about for the people who have never heard the Quran. I am not the best reciter. I can recite it. I did learn it when I was in the prison. But you have brothers that have voices better than Marvin Gaye, voices better than the Isley brothers, whoever your favorite singer is. Imagine having your favorite singer use his beautiful voice to tell you the good message of God. I'm talking about, but I can't explain the rhythmic, mathematical sequence of the Quran's reading and recitation. You just have to hear it for yourself. Just Google it. Or if you need any links, I have plenty of links. Matter of fact, I got some links on my computer right here. Inshallah, I'll put them on. They're better examples than I am. Inshallah, I'll put it on before I close this up. But I'm gonna try to wrap up real fast. So, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got it from Angel Gabriel. He told it to his companions. His companions memorized a minority of them memorized it, and when he passed on, they taught it. They passed it on generation from generation from generation. Now, to close this up, why is Islam different than any other religion? Why is the Holy Quran unique and in its own lane, up next to the other religious books, especially the Bible? Is because it has remained unchanged for 1,500 years. And mark me on this, and I guarantee you cannot prove me wrong. I guarantee it. Not that I'm so smart and I'm so wrong and I'm so, well endowed. Not because of that, but because it just doesn't exist. The best scholars cannot disprove the authenticity of the Quran. Given benefit of the doubt, if the Quran is wrong, let's say everything in the Quran is wrong. Let's say that, let's just say it's wrong. Let's give benefit of the doubt to the doubters. We can prove that this wrongness has been transmitted from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu himself 1,500 years ago up until this day. Up until this day. This is scientific evidence inside of the Quran, which gives more support for its miraculousness, that didn't exist in the time of the people, like the world being round. They mistaught us inside of school that Christopher Columbus and Amerigo Vespucci and all the other crazy people was trying to sail to the end of the earth to see if the earth was flat, because they believed it was flat. The best scholars and the best scientists and philosophers of this time said that the earth was flat. Some speculated that it might have had some roundness to it, so don't get me wrong. Some speculated, but they didn't do anything on the level that the Quran did. The Holy Quran used the word bayda. The word bayda is used for an egg, and this is the exact shape of the earth. Some people speculate to some of the roundness of the earth, but they didn't know for a fact because they didn't have telescopes and satellites like we do today back in those days. So the only way that they can conclude was whenever they seen the sun and the moon, the shadow, but they didn't know what that shadow was. They didn't know if this was the earth's shadow from the rays of the sun. They could not prove it. They could speculate it, but they couldn't prove it. And then, and on top of that, for those critics, you cannot see the perfect shape of the earth on the moon as a shadow on the moon, which is the best evidence that a philosopher or scientist or astronomist can see. You'll just see a part of the roundness. Maybe you'll see a part of the roundness. You say, you know what? I think that might be, but we don't know. There's no way to prove that. And some people, they said Plato had speculated that, whatnot. Now, my point being, in the Holy Quran, Allah, God, told this illiterate man that the earth was in the shape of a bayda. The bayda is a spear. And everybody knows who paid attention just a little bit in science class that we have those two things that they call the axis, one here at the north and one here at the south, and that the earth is kind of tilted on that axis and it's spinning on that. Since it has a linear structure, you can only put a half circle on both sides. Logically, that's mathematical proof. That's science. You can't make a perfect circle with a linear structure in the middle of it. So at the tipping points of the circular sides or shapes, you have kind of it's kind of stretched out. So it's kind of like this. It's not like a perfect circle. It's kind of like this. And only modern science has proven this. But Muhammad told us this via the Quran 1,500 years ago. So that's just one thing. Many other scientific miracles, and inshallah I plan on doing a live stream about these scientific miracles of the Holy Quran to put it out there for the people to believe. So to close up, I'll have to pick up another time for everybody to further explain the Quran's compilation and how the Holy Quran was protected and is protected from ever being changed. Inshallah, I'm gonna do my best to continue to study and gather some more information. And over the weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday, I'll come back, inshallah, and give some more insight on how the Quran was compiled and how its compilation was unique to history and unique to any book that was ever, constructed. I'm not going to say written in this case, but constructed, and how it was protected then from being changed and altered by man, and how it is protected nowadays from being changed and altered by man. Now, as my promise, I'm going to give y'all a taste of how the Holy Quran sounds. And I have some various Quran reciters on here. My favorite is a brother named Abu Bakr al-Shamas. He's a West African brother. Hold on 1 second. Okay, here it is. I hope it's not too loud. And this brother is blind. This is the way that the Holy Quran sounded. Like God gave it to Gabriel, and Gabriel gave it to Muhammad, and it sounded like this. I don't have my Quran next to me, but in the actual book, it sounds like this when you read it or when you memorize it and you recite it from memory. Now, mind you, this guy is blind. He has never seen the Quran before in his life.
Why am I turning this phone? I can push the button. Prison problems. Okay, so that's a little. You hear the brothers watching it, but that's a little glimpse of. Turn this off. Okay, that's a glimpse of how the Quran sounds. Now, I can't recite that good, mashallah, but I can recite appropriately. I can say the words right, whatever. Inshallah, one day I'll recite for you. I'm a little shy about that because you don't want to be like showing off or whatever. But for inspiration purposes, one day, inshallah, I would recite. I will recite a chapter which gives us blessings for gathering together and speaking about the knowledge of God, mashallah, as I close out. But I hope I did not offend anybody, anything I said. If I said anything wrong, it was from me. It was not from Allah, God. It was not from Muhammad, God's prophet and his messenger, nor was it from Islam, nor the illustrious scholars of Islam. It was completely and totally my ignorance, my mistakes, and my faultiness and my weaknesses. If I did say anything wrong again and y'all caught it, please correct me. We'll discuss it. Inbox me. If you have my phone number, call. We can talk about it, whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to give some insight on what the Holy Quran is so that the people know. It's important to, I think it's important for everybody to know what the Quran is because it changed my life. It brought me out of gangs, brought me out of drug selling, and brought me out of robbing, shooting people, harming people. It brought me out of that. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the people who have tuned in. If I said something good, brothers and sisters, please spread it out. Brothers and sisters, please share the knowledge. We need the knowledge. As y'all know, we had a very sad tragedy last week, and sadly, I know the individuals involved. There was a mass shooting, club shooting. I'm sure y'all seen it on CNN News in Cincinnati. And a young brother lost his life before he can get the opportunity to make that change. And some brothers were involved in the taking of that life. I do not know who they are. I do not know. I don't know any of the specifics of the situation. So FBI, you can save your time and go talk to those people who know stuff about that. So, but I said that to say is because we need this change. And I was one of those individuals that before, when I was in that mentality, that I used to feel like I shoot this whole club up. Let this dude say something crazy to me. Man, I spark, dude. This is my mentality. This is a mentality that decimated my family, that decimated my community when I went to prison. I left my children for a decade. I left my oldest baby. She was 3 years old. Now she's 13. That feeling is inexplicable. I still haven't seen my one and only son. I've only seen him twice. He wasn't even born. As a matter of fact, he is the same age as my prison bid. I've only seen him twice, and his sister is a year older than him, so she was just about a year old when I left. Their lives have been disadvantaged for that lifestyle that I lived. My mother was harmed. My sister was harmed. My extended family members were harmed. I harmed my community because I am one of many individuals that belong to a certain community, and I am supposed to bring my civility and my strengths, my truths to the good of society for everybody to use, for everybody to utilize, rather, so that we all can make our lives a little bit easier while we're down here trying to serve God. So this is why I'm doing this live stream. This is why I do all of my live streams or make any of my posts on Facebook so that we can have some inspiration to change. And I always revert back to myself as an example because I don't want to point the finger at anybody else. I point the finger at myself because there won't be any harm there. And hopefully y'all can use
some of the hardship that I relate to you all as motivation and inspiration. Whenever you feel like you're going through something hard, you'll be able to get through it. You just got to be patient. And I'm not just going to be a motivational speaker. I'm going to say you have to believe in God. I did not get through that 9 years. I did not make it this first year out of prison by myself. It was not a self-help group. There was not a nonprofit organization, a rehabilitation program. There was none of this that helped me. As a matter of fact, I didn't use any of that stuff. I was spit straight out of prison, and I jumped straight in the game. I still was trying to fill out paper applications, and then everybody let me know after about a month. It was like, no, you have to have a resume, and you got to do it online. And I was like, shoot. I didn't even know. So the only thing that pushed me was my morals and my principles, and it was not my own personal morals or principles. No matter how smart I think I am, no matter how smart I think somebody else is, the embodiment of my own ideas of morals and ethics, and somebody else's, the embodiment of somebody else's morals and ethics is not enough. I don't care if it was Martin Luther King. I don't care if it's Barack Obama, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and the Beehive, and whoever else that people idolize and aggrandize and spend more time with than they do God, the one who actually created them, Allah. They don't know better than Allah. That's just logic. Jay-Z might say this, Beyonce might say that, Black Youngster and Lil Uzi Vert and all these human idols that people have nowadays, they're bombarding our ears and our minds and occupying that space that would normally be us listening to beautiful Quran recitation, reading, reflecting on how to be a better human, how to make society better for us to live in. This is God knows better than those people. Allah knows better than those people. I don't care what you say. If you say if you don't believe that, then you don't believe in God. You do not believe in Allah. You're an atheist if you don't believe that. And subconsciously we embody that mentality, and we have to make a sacrifice. You can't have this world and the next. You can't believe in God, and you can't believe in God at the same time, believe in everything that is anti-God. It doesn't work like that. You got to choose sides. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I have not eaten anything, and I've been up since about 6 o'clock this morning, mashallah. And I'm about to go eat. I hope y'all enjoy y'all Sunday. Any of my Cincinnati family and friends, if y'all free tonight, we got a game, the Cincinnati Chiefs. Mashallah, it was my goal and my dream to play football when I was a child. Everybody know that. And, I'm 32 now, but, as soon as I came home from the joint, I was like, man, I'm playing football. I don't care what nobody say. So, mashallah, I made a semi-pro football team, and we got a game tonight, a scrimmage tonight. If any of y'all available and y'all free, we at West High. We playing at West High tonight. We playing the Colts, the Cincinnati Colts. We're going to have a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Sister Anissa, I appreciate you a whole lot. You just keep your head strong. You keep pushing. You keep doing your da'wah, and you hold it down on the West Coast, please. MashaAllah. I appreciate you tuning in and commenting. You made some great comments, and I hope some of the people read your comments. I hope some of the people read your comments so they can get some insight. From an African American sister that that embraced Islam, and she's practicing Islam as best she possibly can, and the best thing is she's being a pillar inside of society to show people that there can be change from a sister's perspective, and the change won't come unless it comes through the sisters. So keep up the hard work, sister. I'll follow you. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm gonna get off here. Y'all have a good, blessed week. Put them guns down. Leave them girls alone. Stop drinking. Stop smoking. If you drink and you smoke, and you got to be happy, in order for you to be happy, and you got to drink and you got to smoke, you're not happy. You're going to something to bring you happiness. No, that's not happiness. Happiness is right here. You don't need anything other than God to make you happy. So y'all have a good night, good day, good night. It's a beautiful day. I'm pretty sure it's like 80 degrees out there with you, Anissa. It's only 60 degrees here in Cincinnati. But assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Kulli qawla wa hadha wa astaghfirullah wa la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.